Hello and welcome to the emergency exit. Today we're going to play Assassin's Creed Unity 7 years later on a PS5. Recently, Ubisoft has had an event celebrating 15 years of Assassin's Creed, which was quite disappointing. We got an AC Origins at 60 frames per second and an announcement that there will be a roguelite mode for AC Valhalla. To be honest, I've not been a big fan of the newer AC games. I have beaten Origins, but can't get through Odyssey or Valhalla. To me, they just don't feel like Assassin's Creed. The last AC game I was excited for, though, was Unity. I remember the world reveal trailer playing Lord's cover of Everybody Wants to Rule the World. I am Lord, Lord, come in, Lord, I remember this amping me up, seeing a group of assassins for a co-op, the big crowds, and set during the French Revolution. And then I just remember being disappointed. I didn't hate it, but it didn't meet expectations. The co-op was fun, but buggy, and it was hard getting into missions. The story was lackluster, and those glitches. Yes, that nightmare fuel was real. Was it as bland and as boring as I remember? And is it still a buggy mess 7 years later? I played it again to see. Let's start with the story here. Like all AC games, there are two storylines, the past and the present. And like AC Black Flag before it and AC Indicate after, the present day again took a backseat and we don't have a playable character. I know a lot of people only enjoy the past gameplay and wish they got rid of the present day. I'm not one of them. I love learning the mysteries of Desmond. Warning for a 10-year-old spoiler, in AC3, he dies. In such a lame, noble way. That felt so pointless, and clearly they didn't know where they were gonna go with the present day. Because in this game, you play as, wait for it, someone playing a video game. Yes, their bright idea was to be the literal player, where Abstergo released a game console and then being recruited by the assassins.
We're here to stop that.
Here was the only visual interaction with the assassins in present day. Looking at this, I saw a unique and interesting way to change up the formula. They could have allowed you to go to multiple places in history with smaller maps in order to tell the story, but we didn't. We just follow one character like always. In this case, we are following him because he interacts with a sage. Quick AC lesson. A sage is a human who is a reincarnation of the Isu, the gods of the AC universe. In the lore, after they die, they can be reincarnated again and again, so we could follow them throughout history until we get the information needed. The story for present day is to stop Abstergo from finding the body of a sage by helping Rebecca and Sean, or Bishop and Deacon as they're referred to in Unity, search the past to find the sage's final resting place. But because there's no present day playable character, you can't go searching tombs like you could as Desmond. Their solution at the end was having Arno place the sage's skull in the Paris catacombs, and Rebecca says,
I don't think Abstergo will bother searching the catacombs for Germain's body.
This is why they should have scrapped the present day story. It's forced. If you remove it, it changes nothing. And it doesn't progress the plot in Unity, and it gives no foundation for future games. The past storyline is set during the French Revolution. You play as Arno, starting as a child. He meets Elise, his future love interest, an integral part of the story. As the two are playing, Arno's father is murdered. Arno is taken in and raised by Elise's father, Francois de la Serre. 13 years go by, Arno is a young man. We see him take and fail to deliver a letter to de la Serre, resulting in his death and Arno being framed as the killer. As you can see, he gets a distinguished facial scar just like Ezio. In the beginning, Arno is made out to be similar to Ezio, where he goofs off, is charming. They just went too far with the scar. While in prison, Arno meets Pierre Bellic, who reveals
your father was an assassin, Arno. He gave his life, fighting for the liberty of all mankind.
Introducing Arno into the order. Now, he mentors Arno and gives him a cute nickname.
Piss boy.
Arno escapes prison, finding Elise, where she reveals that
you an assassin, me a Templar.
This sets up a Romeo and Juliet conflict for AC, where the two have a forbidden love. Arno leaves her and officially joins the order.
Stay your blade from the flesh of the innocent.
Hide in plain sight.
Never compromise the Brotherhood.
Rise, assassin.
Another issue I have is we know Arno's father was murdered, but Arno never inquires about his death. It's just used for his assassin heritage. When Unity came out, there was a transition from Xbox 360/PS3 to Xbox One/PS4. Ubisoft made two AC games this time, Unity for next gen, and Rogue for current gen, where you play as an assassin who becomes a Templar. Spoiler again, at the end of Rogue, you kill Arno's father. This is a Rogue only storyline. It was never interjected into Unity. This could have given a unique experience if you play both. Instead, it's just an Easter egg for Unity players who play Rogue. Back to the story though. Arno vows to avenge De La Serre and tracks down who he believes is the murderer. Well, you kill him, finding out he did not land that final blow. This leaves you down a path to find out who gave the order. You track down the silversmith who made the weapon that killed De La Serre. This man is Jermaine, and after you free him from the Templars, you find out that he's actually the Grand Master. And he's the one who ordered the death of De La Serre. And now he wants Elise dead too.
What about the De La Serre brat? She could be dangerous if she manages to rally the old guard.
That situation will be resolved.
Arno helps Elise against the ambush and brings her to the Assassin Order for help.
But my father is dead, as are my allies within the Order. If I must turn to the Assassins for my revenge, so be it.
Mirabu, the lead assassin, is willing to help, but when you return to his home, you find him dead, and Elise is the only one there.
What is this?
I found him like this. I didn't.
Of course not.
Now, Arno believes her, but there was no point for this red herring because you find out in this very mission, he was murdered by another assassin. In the very next mission,
You poisoned Mirabeau. He poisoned us. Peace with the Templars is a fairy tale.
it's literally the only other important assassin, Bellic, your mentor. Honestly, I completely forgot about this scene, or his betrayal, which tells you how little importance it had to the overall story. The next mission, we get to meet the only name I recognize of this era, and that is Napoleon Bonaparte. I will not say I know much about French history, or even more specifically the French Revolution, because I don't.
Dun dun.
Yes?
I was surprised we didn't see Marie Antoinette being a big name during this era. Well, I come to find out she is there, but only if you play the co-op mission Women's March. This is extremely annoying and I will go into that later, but let me quickly finish the story. From here, we see the Templars are influencing the war by artificially rationing the food supply. We finally get to go after Jermaine, but he escapes because we decide to protect Elise instead of killing him. So
Then I don't need your help.
this is Arnold's low point, because right after this, he's exiled from the Order for helping Elise.
And you are hereby exiled from the Brotherhood of Paris.
He takes a downward spiral, so drunken bar fights. This is really dumb. Again, things happen in the story, but there's no lasting consequences. You never see him regain any assassin title, but you assume he does, and he's back working with Elise
I'm going back to Paris. Are you coming?
at the end of the next mission. So you go through some more goons and track down Jermaine's location. He has a piece of Eden, just like all the other AC villains. So Elise distracts him as you use your hidden blade on him 3 times.
Come! Kill me!
In my opinion, they should either let you sneak around and find the opportune moment to strike, or just make it a fight where normal blows make sense. So a giant explosion erupts from the piece of Eden and Arno is trapped. Elise tries to help him, but can't let Jermaine get away. So she goes after him by herself. You manage to break free, but before you can reach her, another blast goes off, killing Elise and weakening Jermaine, allowing you to take that final strike. Then a cutscene plays of Arno honoring Elise's death. They show him putting the skull in the catacombs and it ends. I didn't care that much about her death when I first played it, and I care less now because I didn't get to see her love for him. And with the exception of a kiss, there isn't much there. Her story is about revenge, and it just wasn't compelling. But you know what should be compelling is to press that subscribe button and hit the bell icon down below. Now to the gameplay and the bugs. Yes, there are still bugs and a lot of them, but they did get rid of those nightmarish faces. Just starting the game was annoying because there's no ability to create a new game in Unity. I wanted to play from scratch. I had to go in and delete it from the cloud, and because I opened the game, I had to then delete it from the console as well. The big addition to this game was co-op. You can play with up to 3 friends or some randos online. Once the online missions were unlocked, I tried to play around, and to my surprise, I got into a group in about 35 seconds. But something was wrong. It had showed 2 objectives were completed, but there was nowhere on the map of how to obtain the third. So I jumped out and went back in, and it took me to the same group with the same problem. At this point, I decided to give myself a little challenge. So one aspect of the game is to obtain skill points to upgrade Arno. There are only two ways I found to do so, either the main storyline or through co-op missions. So I thought, could I still fully upgrade myself if I don't play those co-op missions? And the answer is no. I will admit, it did not make me feel weaker. The points I had gained were more than adequate to get me through the story. But because I had to be more selective on where I allocated my points, sometimes I couldn't get secondary objectives done because I didn't have the skill. It's not a big deal. The secondary objectives are just for completion. They didn't diminish any rewards. The issue I have, which I mentioned before, was the loss of historical figures like Marie Antoinette. In this case, I wasn't losing out because I didn't want to play them, but because they're still bugged and they're not a necessity to complete the game. Also, having to be connected to Uplay, their online activity service, prohibited me from suspending the game. I don't recall this when I originally played it, but I looked it up and found out it was a thing for some of the Ubisoft titles around that time. It's just annoying to have to go through the startup each time and not be exactly where you were. So let's get into the mechanics here, the free running and the fighting. When it comes to the newer games, for me, they really lack in the complexity of the climbing. It's not fun, it's just a means to an end. In Unity, they tried something different. They tried to give you more control by having a free run button, and you pick if you want to ascend or descend. But to be honest, I didn't really feel that control. I could do 90% of the same things just by holding the regular free run button or adding the ascend. They did add some cool features like the ability to have access to insides of buildings with no loading. Most were small and only had 1 or 2 floors, but there were a lot of them. It allowed you to jump between windows. You can also scramble up and slide down roofs. You do have the basics that you expect. The synchronization points, they really are beautiful to watch. Then you get to jump in hay. You can use rope lifts, crossing roof gaps with rope, but overall the parkour was similar to the last 2 games, but still fun. But it didn't go without glitches. Now fighting, I just wasn't impressed. I like the basic parry and counter system with a dodge or 2 for variety, more than I like the newer game fight system, though it was janky in Unity. But what I really like, with the exception of bosses, if you're stealthy, everyone can just be an instant kill. It makes me feel like an assassin. I just don't get that feeling with the newer games. In Unity, I don't understand why they got rid of the ability to use body shields, because I could only dodge by rolling, which was especially annoying when you were being targeted and not in combat, because the roll button is the same as the cover button. So instead of getting out of the way, I stick to a post and get shot and killed. So they also got rid of fists, which overall isn't that big of a deal, but they decided to include a bar fight where you are hitting guys with a real sword. I think the fighting was a drop in quality and never felt great. But again, assassinations were fun. Now time for the fight glitches. To the side quests. So we had the Nostradamus Enigmas, which were solved by finding locations based on the clues, which led to us obtaining the Master Assassin's armor, which really is just a Dark Altair's armor. It looked better in the cage than it did on me. Like many AC games before it, you can renovate buildings to help you generate income, so you can buy upgrades and gear for your character. They added something new called Murder Mysteries, which were actually cool. because you actually got a choice of who to accuse, and if you were wrong, it would actually diminish your reward. So then we come up onto the parastories and companion missions, which were odd and end missions, either finding items or killing this person. Something dumb they did was at Notre Dame, there was an odd symbol, which looked like the Nostradamus enigmas, and they had 3 of them leading to entrances under Notre Dame, and one with a mechanism to open a door. So I searched a while trying to figure out how to get in, only to have to look online to find out it was part of a 3-part parastory called Flamel's Secret, about the one and only
Nicholas Flamel.
Though annoying to find out how to start it, I thought, okay, we can get a cool mission with maybe a cool prize. Not really. So what you get is a collect the gears to open the mechanism to the door for the first 2 missions, and then on the 3rd mission, you get to go into his lab to open the chest for some money and pick up an elixir. It's implied very heavily that this is the elixir of life, but you just give it to the lady who provided the missions, while you receive a little bit more money, and that's it. I feel like there should have been just something more to this, for the fact that outside of the mission, I found these symbols and they piqued my interest. Now we come to the social clubs, which at first I actually thought were online only, because when you go into the buildings, for these missions, there are documents to interact with that literally ask if you want to go online. But nope, just more similar side missions to the parastories. They also included something called Rift missions, where you quote unquote cross servers, which would put you in either France during World War II, the medieval era, or the industrial age in the late 1800s. In order to revisit these places, there were mini games where you collect data and free assassins. The last side quests that I actually liked, though they seemed endless, at least I didn't finish them, were the crowd events. They would randomly appear, either you'd tackle a thief or kill some criminals. They are completely optional and they just kind of naturally generate in the world. But if you complete enough of them, you start getting rewards. The nice thing is they were never really out of my way when I decided to complete them, which I think is why I liked them. The next thing I wanted to talk about, which I loved, was the actual big crowds in Unity. This is actually something AC has been missing. I forgot how impressive the city was. And there was always things happening, like people dancing, or you'd come across a head on a pike. It was truly a lived-in world. In the new AC games, the worlds are bigger, but so much emptier. I think that's why I have no attention span for them, because to me, there just isn't anything there when I'm moving around to engage me. That said, they are much less buggy than this game, so here are a few more bugs for our enjoyment. Would I recommend playing Unity again, or a new person playing it? Simply no. It's really not that fun to play, and all the information in this game has little to no effect on the AC universe as a whole. It's still broken, and with many of the glitches, it can be a hindrance to the player. So I may not enjoy the new AC games. I can respect that they actually overall give a more polished game for people who do enjoy that style. On that, do you think I'm right? Maybe I'm wrong? Let me know down below, and please share this video to help me out. Thanks for watching.